Hey everyone, welcome back. Had a few minutes here, so I'm going to try to sit down and get part 2 of carving this Santa ornament done for you guys. In part 1, if you hadn't seen it already, I highly recommend you go back and check that out. In part 1, we laid the foundation on this guy. Today, in part 2, we're going to start raising the walls on him a little bit. Start putting in the details that will make this piece stand out. Those details are the difference maker when it comes to a carving that catches your eye. But however, you got to have the foundation in place to make it look right. So what we're going to do on this guy today is basically start from the top and work our way down-ish. Probably bounce around a little bit. You guys will figure it out. I want to clean up this hat a little bit. Still got a lot of meat here. So I want to push this back a little bit, make that cuff or band or whatever you want to call it pop out a little bit more. And as I'm doing that, I want to round these edges over a touch, soften that up some. So I generally do this step with just a knife. You could use a V-gouge, a soft V, whatever you want, whatever you feel comfortable with. If you haven't noticed, ultimately I am just more comfortable with a knife than any other tool in my toolbox. Do the same thing on the bottom side here. Break these edges up, soften it up a little bit. Don't have to be perfect by any means. I just want to give the impression of a little bit of roundness there and some softer features. I'm going to leave that alone for just a minute. Go back up to the top here. Keep pushing this up, and I kind of want to get this vaguely to a point. However, I want to avoid just a straight pyramid shape. I like to come into the sides and just make swooping cuts, kind of deepening as I go, working my way toward the middle. And I'll do this kind of all the way around. One reason is it looks a little more natural. Another reason is it knocks away those big blocks of nothing going on. I want to grab somebody's eye, with every piece of this ornament. So small facets help with that. Little wrinkles here and there in the fabric, little folds, just little things that add some interest. You can also take a little bit, a gouge, and just kind of run around, add some of those in if you like. Maybe went a little too far. That's all right. And on top, this is one area that I always catch myself. Don't forget to get rid of those saw marks on top there. All right, kind of like the way that looks. So let's fix the fold of this hat. We're going to bring it, and just like any other little detail, I would recommend you avoid straight lines. You can, if you want to put this in initially with a V-gouge, that's a good option. And be aware of your grain. I just popped out a little bit right there, but I know I'm going to cut away a lot with the knife, so I'm not too worried about that. Just make this thing kind of flow around, and we could push a lot of this material here up under there and clean that up. One thing I like to do on these is right in here, add an extra fold or two in. It's just somewhere to throw an extra shadow in. Draw your eye. Probably take out a little bit of a sliver right there. Can you guys hear my dog knocking, wanting back in? See how that deepened that up? And I always like to go right here in this corner and put in one of those triangle cuts. Deepen that area up a little bit. Again, that's just an extra shadow. And I'm going to come right along this edge here and just follow that line right up. A nice deep stop cut. And I'm going to pop that little sliver out right along through there. Again, on the underside here, that's a good spot to put one of those triangle chip cuts in. And then right here at the corner of the pom-pom and where the hat fold hangs down, again, with the little triangle chip cut. There we are. And again, that's kind of a hard line there. I want to break that up a little bit. I've heard it explained that these facets are like cutting a gemstone. These are areas where the light reacts and bounces off and just gives some interest to the piece. Just do a little cleanup here all the way around until I'm pretty happy with it. And I always like to check that profile. I want that hat to be pretty close to in line with the forehead. Again, be aware of that profile. It makes a difference, especially if a judge is comparing your piece at a table next to someone else's. Those little details can make a difference in a blue ribbon or a white one, or no ribbon at all. Here in this corner, I want to deepen things up a little bit. All right. So kind of like what we got there. Clean that out. All right. Let's soften some of the edges on that pom-pom too while I'm working on in this area. We want this thing to look nice and fluffy, not just a hard cylinder or whatever sitting there on the side. So, and when we go to the detail part, we'll do some things to help with that as well. There, kind of like that. All right, so let's do the hat details. We'll start with the hatband or the cuff or what have you. For this, I'm going to use this 3/8 number 9 here. And I see a flat spot there I want to get rid of before I start digging into that. There we go. And all I'm going to do, try to get this where you guys can see it, is just kind of randomly peck away at it. No rhyme or reason to it. Don't try to make, well, you can make a pattern. Some people do, and it looks really good. I prefer just to randomize things. I think it gives the illusion of that fur laying every which way. and pop some of them in there a little bit deeper. You know, no need for any kind of uniformity. Again, we're working with the light. We want a few little deeper shadows, few not as deep, just kind of all the way around. And I want to break up any hard edges on the top or the bottom as best I can. Some of those kind of nicked the hat a little bit. That's fine. Clean that up. Some of those are handy, and I'll show you when we get to the painting stage what I'll do there. But, that is handy to be able to paint a shadow in there. But that's it. You may see a rough spot or two. Just take your gouge and clean it away. Nothing to it. There's his hatband. It's as easy as that. On the pom-pom, I'm going to use this 5mm dockyard and basically do the same thing. I prefer the dockyard for this step just because, one, is a tighter space. It's harder to get that bigger gouge in there. And two, it just adds a little different texture. You know, looks slightly different, just more pleasing to the eye to me. And I'll kind of go around the outside there and break off the edges just a little bit, just to keep that from being a solid line. Continuing on down, let's do these eyebrows. I want to thicken that one up just a hair. That one as well. And one thing I like to do on these is just take a tiny sliver out of the bottom side of this hatband here. Just, again, it's another shadow, and it gives the illusion of that hat sitting down on the head and not just stuck to the top of it. Hopefully that shows up on the camera there. There we go. All right, for the eyebrows, I'm going to grab my soft V. I'm going to split these eyebrows. All I do is put that tool right on the tip of the nose and just run right up the center. Already got a little bit of a stop cut in there, and we can use that knife to break it out. And then on the Santas, I like to soften this area, excuse me, between the eyebrows and the bridge of the nose up just a little bit. Then I'll take, this is a 1.5mm dockyard U-gouge. And we don't have to put a lot of hairs in here. It's just a slight indication of some eyebrows. Do the same thing on the other side. And a little bit of a piece want to hang up and break out right there. Clean that up. And you can kind of go back through and put a deeper cut here and there just to give old Sandy some little bit woolier eyebrows. That's fine. We're getting pretty close already. So from here, I'm going to move down to the beard and the mustache. I don't know how many of you have seen it, but I do have a beard carving video that's a little bit older, about a year old at this point. If you want to dig through my channel, you can easily find it. Since that time, I've adapted things just a little bit. A lot of the basic steps are the same, but I've changed it up just a hair. So my initial steps are going to be to take a knife, and I just want to put some random soft S curves kind of around. Now I want to be mindful of the way this beard is flowing here, you know, and just in general. So those curves are going to kind of follow that pattern. And I'll spread them out, just do a few all the way around. And one thing I like to do is on the edges where I want to pop it out, I'll go ahead and put a deeper cut in there. I want those edges to be broken up a little bit, at least on the thinner parts. You don't have to worry about the knife breaking out quite as bad if you go ahead and put these in now. Oh, got away from me. And I'll also go ahead and start getting some depth in on places like that, and maybe down here where it's a little bit thicker. Like so. I got it pretty well there already. All right. When we're doing beards, or when I'm doing beards, the one thing I always try to be mindful of is no straight lines. It doesn't matter if I'm doing a beard like this or a softer, fluffier beard. I don't want to put any straight lines in there. I don't know how many who are viewing this are beginners. I know when I was a beginner and it came time to do a beard, the first thing I did was grab the V-gouge and just started digging like that. And does it work? Yeah. You know, everybody can tell that's a beard. Does it look great? Well, I guess beauty is in the excuse me, in the eye of the beholder, but I generally do not think so. To me, hair should flow. And we're not looking to cut in each individual hair here. We just want to give the impression of hair, of a beard. We want to give the impression of a flowing beard with this one. And we'll do that a lot with the cuts, and then the paint, when we get to that stage, will help considerably there. And I want to deepen this one in a little bit. Take a pretty sizable sliver out of there. And once again, my whole rationale for that is shadows. Shadows, shadows, shadows. I developed this style of beard after I entered a show about a year and a half ago. It was the Hickory, North Carolina, part of the Cling Spores. Was a showcase of Cling Spores woodworking extravaganza, and they had a wood carving show as a part of that. And Mitch Cartledge was a judge, and that was my first time entering the open division in any contest. And after all the judging was said and done, I was able to get Mitch, he was gracious enough to offer a good bit of his time to just go around and critique all my pieces. And the one thing that he said that really stuck with me with the way I was doing beards at the time was, the flow was good, but I didn't have enough depth to make those shadows really pop out and make the cut stand out. And here around the lip, it may require a little bit of teasing and finagling to get those chips to pop out. So I came home, started tinkering on ways I could get extra depth in there. And the old video that I put up last year was what I had worked up initially in order to do that. And I don't dislike that way of doing a beard now. I still will on occasion. I mean, be honest with you, sometimes I just tinker. And that's what's led to the way I'm doing it today. This one here, I want to change up just a hair. I want to make that thing stick out a little bit wider, and I'm going to bring it right up through there. There we go. So there's step one. And again, I will a lot of times just throw a little swoop cut in there if I've got an edge that looks too straight to me that I want to get rid of. Just a little swoop cut just to break up that just a little bit. All right, so we got that out of the way. Now we're going to grab our soft V. I gravitate to the soft V. I just like using it. I have used like the 3/8 U gouge in the past. Use whatever you're most comfortable with. But I just want to roughly follow that same general pattern again, avoiding straight lines. Just making some soft S curves in here all the way around. Just like the hat, I don't want to get stuck in any kind of repetitive pattern. Felt like that one was about to go. That's all right. I don't want to get stuck with any kind of repetitive pattern. I just want general flow here. And where these deeper cuts are, I'll kind of run into those here and there, just to make it look like those groups of hairs are kind of overlapping. And I may leave a flat spot or two. It's not a big deal. I don't worry too much about the lip, because I'm going to booger that area up inevitably. So I always come back and clean it up in the end. And you can make some of these deeper, some more shallow. Like, just play around with it. Cross them over here and there. That's kind of where we're getting to. Okay, so I cut away there and went ahead and finished up the rest of the beard. Didn't figure I needed to take any more time with that. You guys should be able to get a pretty good understanding of what I was doing there. So let's get this mustache done. Actually, no, take a step back. This guy needs some nostrils first. So I'm gonna grab this 3/8 U-gouge, pop those in right quick. And I like to, Kevin Applegate does a lot better job of explaining this than I can, but I'll start towards that septum and go up and around and down. That way, get that cleaned out. When you look at it from the side, you can see that septum just like you should be able to if you're looking at the profile of an individual. Now let's do the mustache. I got my little 5mm number 11 here, and I'm just going to make some random cuts all the way around, and just following the general flow of that mustache. Since he's kind of happy, I want those whiskers, especially out here toward the edges, flowing around and up. I don't want to aim all of them back towards his nose, though. Mustache doesn't sit that way on her face, so aim some of those out under his cheeks, actually toward the cheek. Do the same thing on the other side here. Now, I don't know how much of this is showing up, but I'm not just pushing this thing straight up and down. So the way I do these mustache cuts is I kind of flick my wrist and just put a little bit of a curve to it. It's not much, but it's enough to break up any straight lines there. Sometimes you can't avoid it, but whatever. Again, here under the cheek, I want to get up in there. And the last thing I want to do is just break up this hard line here. And a lot of times I'll just grab a knife, take a few chips out all the way around here, or, in a couple of spots, just to have some extra shadows there as well. careful not to bust his teeth out. Lost where I was at when I flipped it upside down. There we go. And again, no rhyme or reason to any of them, just wherever it looks and feels right. I was talking about my impetus for developing this style of beard, coming from Mitch Cartledge, and I did want to give a little plug. If you have never entered into a wood carving show before, I highly recommend it. And that is the sole reason why. You know, I honestly don't enter a ton of shows. I try to enter the Charlotte show every year, and I have entered the Hickory show once. Don't have a lot of extra time to do any others, but the one big benefit, the main reason that I urge you to enter a show is those judges are highly credentialed people, and they're all usually very, very gracious with their time. You know, I've gotten critiques from Blake Lunsford, from Neil Sutherland, from Mitch Cartledge, from Kevin Applegate, a lot of guys who are incredible caricature carvers. Honestly, what ribbons I've won are piled up on a shelf in my basement. I don't give a flip about those. But the knowledge that I took away from those shows have meant more than absolutely anything else. And that's the reason I keep entering. Tell you what we want to do here. Let's put in a couple little smile lines and wrinkles, especially on this side where he's winking, just because it'll add a little interest there. And maybe put a little bit of impression of a crow's feet on this side. There we go. There's the details. Next step's going to be clean this thing up and get it ready to paint, and that'll be the next video, the last video in this series. Appreciate you guys tuning in once again. Oh, I just saw something I wanted to add. Don't know what you call that little dividing line down the middle of your tongue, but he needed it. There we go. So, appreciate you guys checking it out. You know the deal. Like, share, subscribe if you enjoy it. And we'll catch you in part 3. Thanks.